Okay, so if you've ever wondered how to truly unlock a learner's potential, whether you're a teacher, a parent, or honestly just someone fascinated by how the human mind actually acquires knowledge, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're diving into this explainer to break down the super fascinating relationship between inquiry-based learning and social constructivism. We aren't just looking at two isolated ideas here. We're exploring what happens when they literally collide and amplify each other to completely transform how students learn. It's a real game changer. So what happens when students discover knowledge themselves? For generations, education was largely about a teacher holding all the facts and basically pouring them into the seemingly empty minds of students. But, that traditional model is being completely challenged today. Imagine a learning environment where the student is the active agent. What really changes when they aren't just handed the answers, but actually have to unearth them? Keep this question right in the back of your mind as we go because the answer is truly transformative. Let's jump into Section 1, the learning synergy, combining forces for better education. To really understand this transformation, I like to think of it as an educational recipe. We're going to mix two specific teaching ingredients with one key catalyst to produce some absolutely incredible student skills. Our very first ingredient is inquiry-based learning. Now, this is an approach that develops research skills by actively encouraging students to ask questions and find answers. Sounds simple, right? But it actually represents a massive paradigm shift. Learning becomes deeply, deeply meaningful when students are the discoverers. Knowledge just sticks better, and it matters more when a student has to pursue it. They aren't just memorizing a random date or a math formula. They're developing the exact skills required to research and validate that information. They literally become investigators of their own education. Okay, so our second ingredient is social constructivism. This approach emphasizes that learning is a continuous process driven by curiosity, forming ideas, and investigating. Constructivism basically tells us that a learner actively constructs their own understanding of the world. It's not just a switch you flip on and off, It's a continuous, rolling process. It relies entirely on natural human curiosity to fuel the formulation of new ideas and build a much deeper comprehension. Moving right along to Section 2, the inquiry approach, becoming the discoverer. So how does a student actually step into the shoes of the discoverer? Like, how do they move from just wondering about something to actually knowing it? Well, it all starts with step 1, observation. You have to notice something about the world, maybe an anomaly, a weird pattern, or a problem. And that leads naturally right into step 2, experimentation. This is where you test your ideas. You get your hands dirty and try things out to see what happens. And finally, we have the absolutely crucial step 3, reflection. This is where the learning is cemented. You look back at what you observed, what you tested, and you process those results. This active, dynamic cycle completely replaces the old method of simply taking notes from a chalkboard. Let's really contrast that old model of a teacher directly giving facts with this new model of active exploration. Simply receiving information is incredibly passive and honestly pretty static. But discovering knowledge yourself, that is dynamic and super engaging. Instead of just directly handing over information, educators can push students to use different sources, like books, the internet, or actual real-life experiences to find the answers themselves. Think about the real-world application here for a second. When was the last time a complex problem at your job came with an answer key attached? No way, right? Real life constantly requires you to be the discoverer. Which brings us to Section 3, constructivism. Trust the process. There's this fantastic quote from our source material. Learning is a process, not just a final result. Valuing the journey over the destination makes learning significantly deeper and way more effective. It is so easy in our modern, test-driven world to only care about that final grade or getting through the final exam. But doing that completely shortchanges the student. When we actually value the messy, continuous process of forming and reforming ideas, the actual retention and comprehension of the material just absolutely skyrockets. There's a huge difference between the intense pressure of hunting for a right answer and the intellectual freedom of genuine investigation. If a student is only focused on giving correct answers, you know what happens? They become afraid to fail. They become afraid to even take a guess. But by shifting the focus to curiosity and forming ideas, we completely remove that anxiety. Shifting away from just hunting for correct answers allows the learning to become deeply rooted. It gives students the freedom to be wrong, to pivot, and to genuinely learn from the investigation itself. All right, let's look at Section 4, the power of group work, the catalyst for synergy. So up to this point, we've pretty much focused on the individual. But the true catalyst, the thing that kicks all of this into high gear, is the social element.
Group work makes both the social constructivist and inquiry approaches significantly more effective. Placing these teaching methods into a collaborative environment isn't just a fun add-on or a way to pass the time, it's literally what makes the whole system thrive. You can have a student doing inquiry alone, and you can certainly have a student constructing knowledge alone. But when you put them together in a group, the effectiveness completely multiplies. It's absolutely the secret sauce of the modern classroom.
Here's exactly how group work acts as this powerful catalyst. First, students share ideas. One student's reflection naturally becomes another student's observation. Second, they discuss different perspectives. If everyone is forming their own ideas, there will inevitably be friction and disagreement, and honestly, that is a great thing. It forces them to actually defend their logic. Finally, they learn from each other. This peer-to-peer interaction strengthens their abilities in a deeply social way. They are literally building knowledge together as a collaborative community. Almost at the finish line, Section 5, Developing Key Skills, Approaches to Learning. So, what is the end game of all this? We've mixed our ingredients, inquiry and constructivism, and we've added our group work catalyst. Well, the final result is a set of specific, well-rounded skills, often called approaches to learning. By combining these methods, students develop independence because, well, they aren't waiting around to be spoon-fed answers. They develop critical thinking because they have to constantly evaluate the ideas they form. They build communication and social skills by navigating the complexities of group work and defending their unique perspectives. And they hone incredible research skills through that continuous cycle of observation, experimentation, and reflection. There is a direct, unbroken line from the synergy of our three elements straight to cultivating these highly desirable, real-world traits. And let's be real, these are exactly the skills that colleges and modern employers are desperately looking for today. Which brings us to our final big thought for today. Are we teaching students to find the right answers or to ask the right questions? If learning is truly a continuous process of discovery, the ability to ask a brilliant question is infinitely more valuable than just memorizing a temporary answer. I want you to think about how you learn best and how you might apply these synergies of inquiry and social constructivism in your own life and work. Keep questioning, keep discovering, and we will definitely see you in the next explainer.